Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update, where we give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. Today is Friday, October 14th, and we are heading into what should be potentially an interesting weekend based on price action this week. We do have bearish to neutral sentiment across the board for many assets, save a few. Uni has been bullish for quite some time. We're seeing some slight jumps today after meeting Tuesday's highs, and that is more or less because the dollar gained strength throughout the evening and into the morning, and does seem to look like it may want to try and test, the potentially the 114 level again. And if it does, that does pose some issues for risk assets. So that's just a really good context going into the next phase of the conversation. So before we dig into equities and crypto, Bitcoin sentiment still bearish. We mentioned that yesterday, even though we had that spike yesterday, that sentiment was still bearish. And if it was bearish, then we might have some trouble going into the weekend. And of course, price very much came off of the high of 19.8 yesterday and is now at the same levels that we were trading at around Tuesday and Wednesday. So very similar for Ethereum, almost identical price chart. Sentiment looking a little bit more positive, but we did have a rejection at the 50 level earlier this week, and that's where we're hovering around right now. Ethereum is also trading around Tuesday, Wednesday highs as well. And unfortunately, tweet volume still down for Ethereum, up for Bitcoin, which is positive, but trading volume for both assets is increased. That is a good sign that we do want to continue to see. Sustained volume is needed for rallies, else they will end up sputtering out. So looking at the charts themselves, actually, let's start with equities since that's more or less our weather vane. As you can see here, dip down and then, strong move yesterday. We even had a strong move into the market open this morning as well. So if you were trying to long at the open, you very much got stuffed, unfortunately. And now, of course, we are back to where we were trading at Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the S&P, with not too strong of a candle forming on the 1 hour. Of course, this is a fresh 1 hour candle, but if it does confirm below 35.97, then it's not looking very positive for the bulls. I would say we do want to see hourly closes really above 35.80 ideally, but if it these two POCs right here are kind of the last defense for bulls in this range, so definitely want to see those held. For Bitcoin, we'll zoom out a little bit here to get a more equal picture with equities. We dropped down to 18.2. I have two lines drawn here. This is the June low. This is the September low, and well now also October low. And we look very similar to the S&P 500. Spike into the morning, stuffed at this POC. We're now back to actually I said Tuesday levels. We're just above Tuesday. We touched it about 2 hours ago, but we're trading more or less where we were on Monday for Bitcoin, just above Tuesday, and ideally we want to close above the Tuesday high. That would be fantastic, I think, for the bulls, and that is about 19.2. We can still close above 19.1 and have a bull case, but I think 19.2 is probably the better number. But in any case, if we can stay above 19.1, there's potential that we just form kind of a large range throughout the weekend, and this kind of takes us to Monday, or we make a new decision. Especially if the dollar closes strong and equities close weak, there's definitely potential for Bitcoin to slide back down to those lows, maybe form a larger range, or potentially continue down. It's very tough to say. Bitcoin sentiment, of course, bearish. Ethereum sentiment bearish. We have to look for those signals. And if the dollar gains strength into the close and the S&P loses strength into the close, then that is not a positive sign for heading into the weekend. Now, we now have a Darth Maul wick on the weekly for S&P 500 futures. We're still above that 200-day moving average that we mentioned earlier in the week, but and that also coincides with that 3,600 number. We can still kind of close, really above 35.90 and still hold that. So we really want to close above 35.90 for the week. Else we can potentially see continuation down to all the way down, maybe 3,200, 3,300, or 3,400, which are obviously the nice round numbers digging into the range that we had drawn a while back. So let's look at the Bitcoin weekly as well, just to give a good kind of roundup for where we're trading. So we're firmly under the 200-day moving average. We do have a lot of volume picking up here, a lot of interesting buy volume. There's no clear signal for this weekly. I would say that's definitely a bit more positive than not. We've got wicks high, then we've got a wick low. It wouldn't shock me to see another wick low. Typically, you'll kind of see it try to form some sort of tweezer pattern. We've gone over that. Tweezers up top, could be tweezers down below that send us higher. But it's not looking very positive for bullish continuation, especially if this closes red. But I will say if it closes above the body of the previous weekly, which is right about 1940. So that close above 19.1 would very much be ideal for potential continuation, but things are not looking extremely positive as we can tell right now. So close above 19.1. We've got a good case for the weekend to at least range between 19.8 and 19.1. Close below 19.1 and our range likely goes back down into the 1800s. And that would be, an 1800 to 1900 or 18,000 to 19,000, range for Bitcoin. And then looking at it very similarly for ETH, a little bit stronger than Bitcoin, but, again, trading above those Wednesday highs. We really would like to see, Ethereum above this POC at 1290, I should say. If we close, between 1290 and 1300 would really be ideal, but above 1290 in the best case, and below 1290 in the worst case, in my opinion. But we do have this kind of range. So if we can, 1270 is really the last stand for Ethereum, in my opinion, but a close above 1290 would definitely give credence to potential ranging, throughout the weekend where we end up, tagging the highs, tagging the lows, and just kind of consolidating before equities open. Typically what you'll see is wherever the close occurs is typically where the futures close, or wherever the Friday closes is basically the futures close. So although Bitcoin is trading 24/7, the futures markets for these assets are not. And because they become so institutionalized, you'll typically see price become volatile and then eventually open around wherever they closed on Friday. So Sunday evening or Monday morning, you'll see typically the same price that you saw Friday close, despite whatever volatility happens over the weekend. So that's not 100%, but it is something to consider if you are trading over the weekend. Typically, price will end up snapping back by market open on Monday to wherever it closed at market close on Friday. So that's also something to consider going into the weekend. I don't think we're going to see any cuckoo crazy moves right now with everything going on, considering equities are now looking weaker. Heading into the weekend, if equities were a bit stronger heading into the weekend, my opinion would change. But we do still have several hours left until futures close. They basically close. It's not that late, but they close around. I want to say it's like 3 to 6 p.m. I think it's 6 or 8 p.m. Eastern. So there's still several hours until futures close. If we can get a decently strong close above the levels that we lined out, maybe crypto has a decent weekend, or at least ranges in this larger range that looks identical for most assets. So all in all, sentiment unfortunately bearish for Bitcoin and ETH. S&P futures looking weak, DXY looking strong, Bitcoin and Ethereum more or less following equities, but we know we need to close above 1290 for ETH. We know we need to close above 19.1 for Bitcoin. If that doesn't happen, then we are likely headed into the lower portion of the range that we began to form very early in the morning yesterday. So good luck, happy trading. And if you're not in the Trade the Chain community, you're missing out on all the prime updates for trading and for analysis. So go ahead and get your 14-day free trial there. Else, we'll see you on Monday. And if you're a TTC member, we'll see you in the community throughout the weekend. Good luck and happy trading.